All right, brother. So we're going to get right in thick and heavy
Let's do
into the
it.
current events. So I want to start with an article that I saw written by Jessica Dickler and posted over at cnbc.com. Uh, in this article that she wrote, she cited a survey that was conducted by the Student Debt Crisis Center that 93% of borrowers are not prepared to resume their student loan payments when they kick in on May 1st. So that has been a topic. Student loans have been a topic that we've gone over quite a bit on this podcast. But this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Real life is
Yeah.
fixing to kick in. So
Yeah.
what are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, my initial thoughts are I, I'm not surprised by that number. I do think that number is a little higher than I thought it was going to be, but I anticipated it'd be pretty high. We live in a society where, for whatever reasons, we have a lot of people, we have a student loan crisis. We all know that it's a bigger issue than COVID-19, I believe, but it's affecting millions of people and it's affecting our lives in a big way. So we've been pushing the can down the road. So people are getting kind of used to the fact that they are waiting for the government to come in and pay for something, whether they're going to forgive the student loans or whatever. But um, we, I don't think as a country we have the ability, or even if we do have the ability, that it's a smart idea to pay off all these federally backed student loans. And nor do I think we should. And I think people are going to have to get used to that and learn how to pay them off. And you can't delay them forever, right? They're gonna, it's still there.
Yeah, I think that this is potentially a significant crisis. Um, Obviously, once COVID-19 became a major issue and you saw a lot of these lockdowns and, that impacted people differently in different states because not every state handled lockdowns the same way. But the federal government basically put a moratorium for the last 2 years on student loan repayments. Now, I'd have to dig in a little bit deeper, but I suspect that not all of these lenders necessarily suspended the accumulation of interest during that time frame, um, although they may have. But it's a case of bad or worse any way you look at it. But during these 2 years, you've seen the government really put a lot of money into people's pockets. So you've seen, federal subsidies of unemployment benefits, which created, pretty significant benefits from unemployment for those that were out of work. You saw the government put money into people's pockets through the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit, where people were actually getting those from the government on a monthly basis, I think from July through December of last year. So for 6 months, people were getting money from the federal government for the child tax credits. And then having the student loan payments suspended. um, I think if you think about it, some of those things are probably contributors to inflation, because that wasn't really earned income. It was just cash that was put into the economy and inflated the money supply. But um, as is always the case, the chickens come home to roost, and the piper has to be paid,
Yeah.
right? So the child tax credits stopped, the monthly payment anyhow. Those stopped at the end of December, and now people are looking to have those student loan payments start up again in May. And so where we saw for a while, we saw savings accounts going up, we saw cash reserves going up. Now we're going to come down on the other side of that, and we're going to see, savings decline, and we're going to see, some people who are still in maybe less than ideal circumstances financially have to figure out how to take on these payments. And there are a few things that are particularly insidious about student loans. Number one, the federal backed loans are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. So whatever situation you're in, bankruptcy is not going to help you get out of it with respect to federally backed student loans. And the vast majority of student loans are these types of loans. And then, the other thing that's insidious is just the volume. I mean, people take massive amounts of student loan debt, and those payments can be like an additional mortgage payment or an apartment payment to folks. So, if you're already kind of at the edge of your comfort level with your personal finances, just think about taking on another mortgage payment, and where would that put you with your finances? So it's a tough situation. I suspect we're going to feel the repercussions of that. It would not at all surprise me if we hear a lot louder cries, kind of renewed cries for the student loans to be forgiven. We already hear that from certain segments of the political class. I also would not be surprised. One thing that almost always gets bipartisan support is handouts and giveaways. So, if this really does become a pinch point in the economic recovery, I suspect we might see a push for either a suspension or maybe some other sort of tax break or handout to help compensate for this. So what do you think about that?
Well, a lot of the points you made or all of the points you made are spot on. You know, to expand on it a little bit, I think we all agree that it's a form of predatory lending, right? Student loans is. Matt and I aren't saying that, we think these companies giving these loans are good people and they're looking out for your best interest, because they're not. And I think it's a form of predatory lending. I think all of us can agree to that. But that doesn't take the personal responsibility equation out of it. We have to own up to the fact that we walked into this with both eyes open and understanding what we were doing. And I guess just in terms of trying to help create a solution to get people out of this problem, because it's a tough problem. I mean, it's a huge problem, right? I mean, it affects millions of lives, depression, all sorts of other medical issues and mental issues you can suffer from this. And I guess the one silver lining about our economy right now, and most of the people that have student loans have them being deferred at the moment, is at least we can go find work. And, just trying to find any ray of light. Maybe everyone or somebody in that particular situation can find another job, a second job or a third job to help them pay that payment. I think historically, on average, the monthly payment somewhere around $300 a month is what it used to be for a student loan. So these days, that's an extra 10, 15 hours a month just to pay that. Well, we should be able to find that pretty easily right now in this market. So, I'm not trying to discredit what the companies out there have done and how they take advantage of people, or the huge annual parties they throw for their salesmen out in the Bahamas or wherever they go.
The lenders are part of the equation,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to let them off the hook, but the universities have done their students no favors either.
Correct. Agreed.
I mean, for our entire adult lives, the rate of tuition increases annually has far exceeded the rate of inflation.
Yeah.
When I went to university here at the University of West Florida, this was 20 years ago. I was paying $86 a credit hour. Now you've got kids that have recently been paying tuition at that school, and I'm guessing that they pay at least 2 to 3 times what I did 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's over 300 a credit hour right now.
Okay, so almost 4 times as much.
Yep.
So the universities can do that because these kids, most of them who take the student loans, there are no qualifiers, there are no restrictions. It's just, okay, we're going to give you however much you need. Well, the universities aren't blind to this. They know that they're going to get that money. So who cares, if it cripples the kids, as long as they're getting the money. That's what matters to a lot of these university administrations. So, I think that they have a lot of responsibility for this as well. And they have not done their kids any favors by jacking tuition up so much so quickly. If you are considering going to school and taking out student loans, this is a good time to take a step back and think about how much debt do you really want to take on. I took out some loans myself when I went to school, but a relatively modest amount compared to modern day standards. If you're going to finance your education, you better stick to some fundamentals, right? And one of those is pick a career that you are very confident that you're going to get a job in. It may not be the career that you would ideally choose if you lived in a utopia, but life doesn't usually work out that way, does it?
No, it doesn't. People, we know, I guess in a simpler way to say it, we know college is coming, right? I mean, yeah, we feel bad as human people, and we have compassion for one another. So you hate to hear the story that a 21-year-old kid just graduated college and have 200 and something $1,000 in student loan debt. They can't find a job. Society's against them, and all that. We hate to hear that story because we feel compassion for them. But in order to solve the problem, we have to stop reproducing a problem, right? We've got to keep more people from doing that. So that's what this message is about. College is coming. You're born and you have 18 years in most people's lives to get ready for college. Now you have parents in that equation, you have children in that equation. At some point, obviously, both parties are responsible, but the parents probably take a bulk of that. You guys got to discuss this. I mean, the parents and the children, they're counselors, and you got to be purposeful, which is what we preach about everything. College is coming. Make a plan for it. Are you going to college? Because let me put that out there first. I'm not the person that says everybody should go to college. I did not go to college. So, there's great trade schools out there, and there's other avenues to make a living. If you want to go to college, that's great. I don't believe in force feeding college into the next generation and the generations after that. But let's stop the student loan crisis from spreading and educate our children and ourselves as parents to keep it from happening so the problem doesn't get worse.
Absolutely right. The first step is admitting you have a problem, right? Well,
there you go.
In our society, we definitely have a problem.
Yes. The Purposeful Podcast.